Hello everyone, welcome to this presentation to let you know more about Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking, a completely different approach to quitting. My name is Colleen Dwyer. I'm a senior therapist at Alan Carr's Easy Way, and I quit my 60-a-day addiction successfully with this program back in 1997. Over the next 20 minutes or so, the main areas that we're going to cover are an explanation of why focusing on the negatives is counterproductive, the real barriers facing smokers who try to quit smoking, the success rates for varying methods, whether you have to feel ready to quit smoking, and also the next steps if you would like to take it further. Studies have consistently shown that around 70% of smokers say that they want to quit smoking, which poses an interesting question, which is why don't we just stop then? If you wanted to stop playing golf, for example, you'd simply stop. So clearly there's more to this than just telling ourselves to not do it. As smokers, we have conflicting views about smoking. So in our heads, we're at one and the same time thinking, I know I should stop, but also I want a cigarette. Smokers pretty much share the same fears about smoking. So, as smokers, we understand that it's unhealthy, it's antisocial, it's expensive, it's smelly, etc. But actually, at the same time, we're thinking, but I like it. It calms me down, it helps me to control my weight, it gets me extra breaks at work, it's sociable, etc. Now, perhaps you're thinking that the fears of continuing to smoke should outweigh the fears of living life without a cigarette. And I would certainly agree with you if both sets of fears came to us at the same time. But actually they don't. You see, the fear of lung cancer or heart disease and what have you, these are fears that are way off in the future. The next cigarette that we smoke does not present to us stroke or, premature death. Whereas the next cigarette that we don't smoke immediately presents us with all of our fears of living life as a non-smoker. So as soon as you decide to stop smoking, right away you're going to be thinking, well, but what if I can't do it? What if I'm one of those smokers who's basically destined to smoke for the rest of their lives? And I don't want to put on weight, that's going to be crazy. I don't want to swap one problem for another problem. What am I going to do for breaks at work and so on? So this is why as smokers we tend to put off the evil day everyone will quit smoking. So we're pretty much thinking, yes, I want to quit. Absolutely, I'm going to stop smoking. I just don't want to do it today. I've got way too much on my plate at work at the moment. I've got a party coming up next week. I'm going on holiday. And actually, do you know what? It'd be a bit silly to stop smoking now. So what I'm going to do, my plan is I'm going to get all of this stuff out of the way first. And then I'm going to put all of my attention onto stopping smoking. Now, the problem is there's always going to be a party or a bit of stress at work or at home, or there's always going to be some event in the not too distant future that will allow us to keep putting off the evil day everyone will quit smoking indefinitely. And before we know it, another year's gone by and we'll still be puffing away on cigarettes. Now, the established approach to stopping smoking is basically to emphasise the negatives of smoking through various measures such as taxation or like the antisocial campaigns, shutters at point of sales, nicotine replacement products, and pretty gruesome imagery depicting the health risks of smoking. Now, the problem with focusing on the negatives is threefold, not least because smokers already know this stuff already. In fact, you could even argue that given that smokers are on the receiving end of the higher taxation and the social stigma and the health problems, you could argue that they know it better than anyone. So the messaging directed at smokers is both patronising and insulting, and it basically creates a resistance because it generates a kind of them and us sort of attitude. So the campaigner starts to look like they're the enemy, and that just serves to make the cigarette look like it's the friend. The second problem with focusing on the negatives is that just human nature, really. No one likes being told what they can and can't do. And this can actually give the cigarettes a bit of a forbidden fruit type of status in our minds. It's a bit like if you go on a diet. You know what it's like? If you go on a diet, all of a sudden food is more precious to us. not less. And that's the same dynamic at play with this approach to getting people to quit. The third problem with using this approach is that trying to get the smoker to look at the negatives of smoking basically stresses them out. I certainly remember when I smoked, if ever I came across a newspaper article on the dangers of smoking, or if there's an advert on the radio or some kind of program on the TV talking about the negatives of smoking, I was always wanting to get away from it as quickly as possible. So if I was reading a paper, I was right, let's turn the page over as quickly as possible. Or if it was something on the radio, I'd want to switch channel. Or if it was on my TV, I'd be thinking, right, where's my remote control? And always the next concern would be, where are my fags? Because I was just so stressed out. And actually, one of the misconceptions as smokers that we hold about cigarettes is that they help reduce stress and anxiety. So actually, the last thing you should do with a smoker is stress them out, because that just makes them want to have a cigarette, and it intensifies the vicious cycle that they're caught up in. So that's why we're saying, it's a very counterproductive approach. The Alan Carr program does not focus on the negatives of smoking. Rather, we challenge the perceived positives of smoking. So we put all the attention on the other side of the tug of war. And really our aim is to remove the smokers' fears of not smoking. So completely remove their concerns about being a non-smoker or becoming a non-smoker. And we do it in a session, in a seminar, 5 to 6 hour group seminar. It's typical that a group has between 10 and 20 people in it. And basically the therapist leads the smokers through an analysis of their smoking behaviour and their motivations. It's cognitive behavioural therapy, and also there's a light relaxation exercise at the end. And we have regular smoking breaks in the seminars. I know people think that's a bit strange, but actually it could be a really valuable element of the process. I think you'd be hard pushed to get a smoker into a seminar for 5 hours if you didn't give them an opportunity to smoke. But actually, do you know what? It's important as well that the smoker doesn't quit until they feel absolutely ready, until they feel equipped with the right frame of mind, the right information to stop. Also, the therapist is going to be challenging some lifelong held beliefs that the smokers might hold about smoking. And so the smoking breaks are a great opportunity to test it out, to actually put it into... to experience it when you're actually smoking the cigarette, to be thinking, right, what am I getting from this? How great is this experience? What am I actually going to be giving up by stopping? So most people only need that one seminar to quit smoking happily and easily, but some people need a bit of extra support, and we offer them support in the form of telephone support and also 2 booster seminars. And the booster seminars, they're not a repeat of the first session. They're designed specifically for people who've already attended the main session, and they last about 3 hours each, and they're phenomenally successful for the people that need them. In fact, the entire programme is incredibly successful. Sir Anthony Hopkins, who has quit smoking with our seminar, says being a smoker is like being trapped in a complicated maze, and it's as if Alan Carr has a plan of that maze and can help you to navigate your way out. I think that's quite a nice way of putting it, really, is that we guide you through the entire process, so that something that's previously been confusing and mystifying and frustrating is actually, if you know which step to take at each junction, then the process becomes pretty straightforward. So in fact, we have many famous faces who've quit smoking happily and easily with our programme, including Angelica Houston, Jason Mraz and Ashton Kutcher. I'm going to show you next a short clip of some familiar faces who are talking about their experience. Some of these people have quit with Alan's book because the Alan Carr programme, Alan Carr himself was, he was a Londoner, born and bred. So it's a British methodology. I mean, it's since developed throughout the world. Currently, we've got over 150 centres in 48 countries. We're less established in America, and just our way of operating is basically via word of mouth, that people who have experienced the method tell other people of either the book or the seminar. And the way that we operate is that in each territory that we go into, we first launch the book. So the book gets published, people quit off the back of the book, and then we get people approaching us about like running a clinic in their area, because all of the therapists who work with Alan Carr's Easy Way, they used to smoke and they quit by using this program. And that's prerequisite. We wouldn't have anyone in the room who either wasn't a smoker and hadn't quit with our program. So in America, we aren't as established. So really, we're only just getting clinics as set up, and but the book's been out there for a number of years now. So that's why some of these people are talking about the book, and others are talking about the seminar. But the seminar has always been the most powerful way of getting Alan's message across. We also have quite a good awareness or good brand recognition, just even within the media as a whole. And really what I want to emphasise before we talk about this is just how people who quit with this method don't feel miserable. Rather, they feel liberated, that they don't have to smoke anymore. You know, typically people who quit with other methods might talk about horrible withdrawals, and they might be counting the days of how long it's been since their last cigarette. Or I don't know if you know any smokers who perhaps have quit smoking ages ago, they quit years and years ago, but they still say they miss it. You know, they still say, oh yeah, I know, but never a day goes by where I don't miss cigarettes, or you know, I know that I'm just one away from being straight back in it again. So that it gives the impression that, you know, you can't ever completely break free, that you can never feel confident that you're not going to smoke anymore. Well, actually, with this method, that's exactly what we're aiming for, so that you feel like cigarettes are an irrelevance to you. You don't care if people are smoking around you. You could go out for a drink. You can go, you know, face life stresses. You can be bored. You can go hang out with the smokers in the smoking area. That it doesn't touch you. That you just see smoking in a completely different way, and you're pleased that you don't have to do it anymore. And you get a sense of that with the comments that people leave about our seminars. So they usually talk about how they feel confident. They talk about a sense of freedom, and it's just not typical of other methods. And actually, I have to say, for me, this was the most appealing aspect of Alan's method, is that I didn't want to become a holier than thou ex-smoker. You know, those people who start, you know, getting a bit snooty around people who still smoke. And I really didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to feel like an ex-smoker who was deprived, or I didn't want to feel like I was missing out. And do you know, sometimes we actually get journalists who come along to our seminars really with the sole intention of slating us, and they leave as happy non-smokers. So it's, you know, it's a very good method, and the arguments are very tight. Independent scientific research has shown that at 12 months we've got a success rate of 53% or over 53%, and at 3 years it's 51%. And just by comparison, the highest success rates for other methods show a success rate of 22%, and that's at the 12-month mark, and that's with Champix. And also, in addition to that, some intensive support program from either the GP or nurse. So so you can see that, you know, it's pretty clear difference between the two. So there are so many health gains or not just health gains, just like really wonderful aspects to quitting smoking. And I know when I was a smoker, I thought that if I quit smoking, I should expect to have a bit more money, be healthier. Now, in reality, I'm still broke, so I don't quite know how that one's worked out for me. But also, my health improved in ways I didn't even expect. I certainly didn't imagine it. But like, my general state of lethargy lifted. I had loads more energy. I just woke up in the morning feeling refreshed and, you know, normal. And I had more stamina, more resilience, more time. I noticed being more present in situations. So what I mean is that rather than thinking about like when I could have my next cigarette, or figuring out how could, like cover up the smell of cigarettes on me, or thinking, right, how many have I got left? How long is that going to last? Where can I stop off and get some? Or do I need to go to the cash point? And, you know, it takes a lot of effort and energy to manage your addiction. And it's so lovely to get rid of that. So you get a lot more headspace, and you can then devote that attention to stuff that genuinely makes us happy. So I noticed that in a big way, that my attention was on the person that I was with, or, you know, the task I was undertaking. And then a knock-on effect is productivity increases, and there's a new sense of confidence and self-respect, and relationships improve. And of course, most importantly, I suppose, is you have your freedom back. You're no longer being dictated to by the cigarettes. And you can expect all of this, and actually more, when you stop smoking. There are many other differentiators, including the fact that there's no drugs involved in this approach. So it really doesn't matter what medical condition you might have. It doesn't matter what medication that you're currently taking. This method is completely natural. It's completely drug-free, and therefore it's available to all. It doesn't matter if you're a casual smoker or a binge smoker, a chain smoker. It doesn't matter whether you had your first cigarette yesterday or whether you're smoking your millionth cigarette yesterday. Because actually the motivation to smoke is the same regardless of how it plays out in each individual's life. We don't use shock tactics, so this is not a 5-hour lecture on how bad smoking is. It's an intelligent and refreshing review on the true nature of nicotine addiction and the reframing of it in your own mind. And the program is instant, so that's important. You know, we're busy people, we've got busy lives, so you don't have to commit to a 6-week course or anything like that. In most cases, it's just that one seminar, the initial seminar, and that's enough you need to get completely free from the addiction. We also have the highest success rate. You know, this is so important because it can take a lot of courage for a smoker to decide to stop smoking. And then if the method that they use isn't successful for them, then it could take God knows how long, maybe a year or more, before they build up the courage again to give it another go. Because you lose face. If you build yourself up to quit smoking and you put a lot of hope into it, and you tell people, right, I'm going to give this a go, I'm going to, you know, this is it for me, and then to 5 or 6 weeks later be smoking again, you feel a bit of a mug, really, and you feel a failure. I mean, we say the failure is never yours at all. The failure is in the approach that you adopted. But even so, the smoker takes it upon themselves, and it can, you know, it can really put them off trying to quit again. Stopping smoking really is one of the most important decisions you will ever make in your life, and it's critical that you give yourself the very best chance of success. And the biggest differentiator of all has got to be that with this method, it is easy to stop smoking. I mean, you don't put on weight, there's no horrible withdrawals, there's no cravings, there's no feelings of deprivation. It's just you return to normal and get a proper view of what smoking is. The next important question has got to be, when should I address the smoking problem? Well, some people feel that they need to be in the right place mentally to stop smoking, and that they have to really want it. In truth, every person who comes along to our seminars doesn't feel ready to quit smoking. There's a part of them that's sceptical about the method, of course, and sceptical about their own ability, and also they don't want to lose out on their reward. You know, there's a part of them that doesn't want to lose their crutch or pleasure or perceived pleasure. And the purpose of our seminar is to get you to the place where you feel ready. So to get you to the position where you actually see stopping smoking as an enjoyable and easy process. You don't have to feel that way when you arrive. You don't have to feel any particular way when you arrive at our seminar. Sometimes people attend the seminar because they've been harassed into it by a loved one, or actually one man said his friend asked him if he wanted to go and see Alan Carr at the weekend, and he mistakenly thought he meant go and see the comedian, you know, Alan Carr, the chatty man, and he was not happy when he turned up to a stop smoking clinic. But actually he left a happy non-smoker because the arguments are so tight and it's a very compelling program. So in answer to when should you address your smoking problem, it has to be as soon as possible, as soon as you can. You know, stopping smoking is going to increase your quality of life on every level. So when would you like to start enjoying that? You know, as soon as you can. So in terms of the next steps, we've got email address here for you, proactive.health@axa-icast.com. So if you want to express your interest in attending either one of our public centres, of which we have over 20 in the UK, or if you want to have a worksite seminar put on for you, then you just have to contact Proactive Health at AXA-icast.com. So there you are. Thank you very much for listening. If any of you have any questions at all, please just either type them in or let me know.